Is Geno Smith going to bomb or be the bomb? What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today I'm taking a deep dive into the 2023 Seattle Seahawks. If you guys are new, feel free to stick around, like, comment, subscribe, do your YouTube thing, and then, links are all in the description below, including for if you guys want to use my code for Underdog Fantasy, which apparently everybody is partnering up with Underdog Fantasy now. Feel free to do so. Show some love to your boy. You get a match up to $100 on your first deposit. You guys probably heard it a billion times. But let's get right into this. You guys can also join the Discord. It's absolutely free, over 700 members, and I do tape studies there for all 22. All you gotta do is hit me up, and I'll definitely be announcing when I do those. It's absolutely free. There's nothing for you to lose, and it's honestly a great community with some great mods in there to make sure everything is nice and chill. So let's get right into the video. We're going to be breaking down the depth chart, then going to a records prediction, and if you guys are new, I go from skill position to line, then line to skill position for the defense. So quarterback Geno Smith, that's the big question in the room. Is he going to end up being, or is he going to turn into the pumpkin, or is he just going to continue being, the Geno Smith we know from last year? Like, is it Geno, or is it going to be Geno from last year? That's the real question. And I think that Geno is going to, I'm having faith, stay what he was last year. It's not like you could just see complete regression right there. Of course, when you go after a really big year into a year two, a lot of teams start having the tape from last year and understand how to game plan against you. I'm a little bit worried about that, but luckily you have an ungodly roster around you. You have Kenneth Walker, who's an absolute beast. So you have two running backs in the past 2 years, in the past 2 rounds. They're both selected in round 2. And Zach Charbonnet as well, my buddy from high school, my former fellow running back on Oaks Christian. So go Oaks. Gotta love that. I was not a fan of when Zach was drafted to your team because I thought that I really wanted him to have a much larger role. Kenny Walker is going to be there and a very, very consistent player for the next 3 years at least. So that cuts into 3/4 of Zach's opportunity to truly step up and be the focal point. But luckily, this team likes to run the ball. So good for him. There is something on the downside, though. Of course, I'm not going to mention Bellor here. I mean, I put the fullbacks in there out of respect for their position, but no real need to discuss them. Unfortunately for these running backs, there's a really good receiving core. You got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, the first round selection for you guys. You guys have loaded up on weapons. It is loaded to the brim. I could have put best unit as running back as well. I mean, hell, you guys are stacked right now. And then you look at the offensive line, too. I mean, I don't even think I need to just go much more in depth there. I think tight end might be one of the worst positions, and you guys have some good depth there for sure. But, that's probably the one area where I said maybe hopefully in sixth round you could have gotten Zach Kuntz. It is what it is. Offensive line, you got Charles Cross, who's, in my opinion, going to continue developing into one of the more talented tackles in the NFL. I had some issues with his anchor, and I think that has been a little bit of an issue for him in the NFL, but I certainly think that he's going to continue stepping up and getting better and better. Damian Lewis was honestly pretty solid last year. Evan Brown, there's a reason why a lot of people wanted Osiris Torrance in the first round of the Lions. I don't really like him. It's because he wasn't very good last year. Phil Haynes was honestly pretty solid, but I don't really fully trust him because he wasn't a starter last year. According to PFF, all of it was, labeled P for where he was not actually starting at the start of the game. I don't fully understand that. If you guys wouldn't mind giving me a little bit of a catch-up, that would be wonderful. And then Abe Lucas, another really solid veteran. You guys fixed your tackle situation in one draft. Unbelievable. And I believe that you guys still have Stone Forsythe on your roster, so good for you. Drafted 2 really good interior offensive linemen at the positions that I don't like, and that's Olusegun Oluwatimi, who is one of my favorite players in the draft. Had a little bit of struggle versus some power there at the Senior Bowl, but overall on the move, really, really good. And then you have Anthony Bradford, who's a perfect fit for this run-heavy offense. This guy's a mauler. There's in Minnesota, I'm forgetting the guy's name off the top of my head, but another LSU guard from a little bit over a year ago, he's been actually taking a starting role, and I think Bradford could do the same here. You got Dwayne Eskridge, or now is D. Eskridge, one of my favorite players who just never ended up panning out wholly. And then another one of my high school teammates, Colby Parkinson, there from Oaks Christian as well. You guys have a couple of tight ends there. I think Will Dissly as well could be noted, but overall this offense is star-studded. It's with a few, if not, I think it might be the only A I've given. And I don't like giving A's. I don't like giving A minuses. I don't even really like giving B pluses. I'm a pretty harsh grader on this, and I can't really find much to fault because of the fact that you have Bradford and Oluwatimi, who I think are going to start over the two guys above them. So you guys could be in a god tier position. Unreal. Then we have, wow, oops, spoiled the schedule. I don't know why I double clicked there. That's, well, I mean, you guys could literally skip a couple of seconds forward in the video and then see it. I don't know why I'm that like spooked about it, but your defense also got an A. I think, I'm forgetting the guy's first name, Moan. I literally looked him up, like probably 30 minutes ago. He's just, there's nothing on him. This is from our lads, so I'm just reporting what they're putting as the nose tackle, and there's a reason why a lot of y'all are saying, hey, we still need defensive interior. You know, you got Draymond Jones there, who you paid a pretty penny, but he had almost 50 pressures last year. Really good player. Jaron Reed, another really good player as well. I got to see him there in Pittsburgh for a little bit, and then he transferred. He's been bouncing around, of course. I think he went to Green Bay as well. Really fun player to watch. You got Uchenna Nwosu and Darrell Taylor, who I think are honestly both very solid dudes. You got Derek Hall as well listed behind him, who, if I'm not mistaken, was a second-round selection. You got Boye Mafe there as well. You guys have some really good outside linebacker depth, and you guys have some good talent there as well. Just Moan guys getting in the way. Jordan Brooks honestly didn't perform as well as I was hoping him to. The more I dug into his stats, you know, not necessarily a huge fan, but then you bring Bobby Wagner into the group, and then automatically I'm going to just see Jordan Brooks take a big jump. Again, I think he's going to do a really good job this year. Bobby Wagner, an amazing veteran there with all these dudes. You got Devin Bush as well as a former Steelers fan. I wouldn't say it sucks to see him go, but, you know, it is what it is. Also, a really good depth linebacker for you guys. Somebody of note, I didn't talk about him, Cameron Young, Mississippi State nose tackle. I liked him quite a bit. And he could end up starting for you guys at nose, and that's a 5th-round selection, so good for you. Safety-wise, you know, Adams is a monster. He ended up not being worth 2 first-round picks. He ended up being a pretty bad selection, but, you know, he is still somebody who's a big enforcer. I'm going to, you know, let Jamal do what Jamal wants to do. He's just not a premier safety. Quandre Diggs, if I'm not mistaken, just got a big contract. I think you have Julian Love as well. Yes, you do, on your roster. So 3 really talented safeties. Then you look at the corners. Devon Witherspoon. He got toasted in practice by Jack Smith and Jigba. Okay, you know, let's just wait for the real game tape, and I hope that wouldn't continue. He was a really fun selection. I didn't really give it that high of a grade because of the fact that I was like, oh, I mean, you could have gotten Jalen Carter at that point. I thought that, you know, especially with Moan being your nose tackle, that would have been a better decision. But regardless, then you got Tariq Woolen there and Kobe Bryant. You have 3 top-tier DBs, not including your safeties as well. Overall, this team's absolutely star-studded. And it's one of those teams that got an A. Just this Moan guy kind of took him away from an A+. And, you know, it's I don't know if Jalen Carter would have done more than corner number 2. But, hey, Devin Witherspoon. It was a pretty big surprise, but honestly, you guys like those guys who are really good in press and sticky in man coverage, and that's exactly who he is. And I believe in you guys. The record speaks for itself. RIP to the editing, but it is what it is. We'll go over this game by game. I think you guys are just a talented team. I think you just outclass other rosters, Rams especially, Detroit. I don't think that, especially with their wide receiver situation, they're going to do anything against you guys. Their run game might be able to do a little bit, but you have Bobby Wagner and some great edge rushers to seal in Jahmyr Gibbs. So I don't really think that they're going to have very much effect there. Carolina, that's going to be a tough defense for Bryce to parse apart, especially since you guys are going to be up in Seattle. Very difficult there. New York's an underachieving roster with a very good coach, so I don't really think that's too much of a surprise. Cincinnati, you're going to be in Cincy, and then it's also a very big Super Bowl competitor. I think that's a perfectly fine game to lose. Arizona's just not that good. Just made the video earlier this week if you guys want to check that one out in more depth. Cleveland, not very fun, but, you know, it's a gritty game, but you guys are going to win that one. Baltimore, another Super Bowl competitor that you're playing at their house. That's very difficult. Washington just doesn't have the depth nor the polish to be able to play against you guys. Already talked about LA. I have you guys sweeping San Fran because I actually have Brock Purdy coming back in week 14. No, week 10. Excuse me. I have you actually beating Brock Purdy twice. Not very easy, but Brock is going to have some time to adjust to his shoulder. I don't really know if he's ever going to be himself this year. Because, again, when you come off of having to throw differently, it's not going to be very fun to immediately get hit. So I do think there's going to be a psychological aspect there, and I also think you guys are just a better team overall. Dallas, you're going to another Super Bowl competitor's house. I'm just going to lean a Super Bowl competitor to a Super Bowl competitor at home. As you can tell, I don't think, apart from Philadelphia, that you lose at home. And Philadelphia is that team that did get those A pluses here and there. So, it is what it is. But Philadelphia has earned the respect of everybody. And then you go to Tennessee, which is not going to be an easy game because Tennessee is just nasty weather. And, they know how to just smash it down the middle with it. But to say smash and moan, that doesn't go very well together. Maybe it does depending on how you take it. But pause. And Tennessee is still a tough place to play regardless. Then you got Pittsburgh, and I'm having you beat my Steelers. I love my Steelers, but, y'all going to take the W there. And then Arizona ending off versus Kyler Murray. You guys could end up taking the week off and just saying, hey, the Eagles have already gotten past us. But that's the only way you guys would end up 12-5. Not many teams are going to get remotely close to competing with you guys. I think you guys are going to be pushing it down the wire to potentially the Super Bowl. You're one of those teams that I do believe in wholeheartedly. I was on the Detroit Lions train for a while, and they kind of lost my allegiance. So it is what it is. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy. See you later. Peace.